by Olivia. KelleherPresident Michael D. Higgins called for a renewed commitment to support all vulnerable people in the world at the annual Famine Commemoration Ceremony at UCC today. The Great Hunger, though not the sole foundation event in the formation of the Irish diaspora, must yet still be considered the single most important event in the formation of a distinct Irish-American identity, President Higgins said. President Higgins said it should never be forgotten that between 1846 and 1855, around 2.1 million people left this island, more than in the previous 2.5 centuries combined. 1.5 million of those went to the United States. An editorial in the Times of London would later state that it is there the Irish famine of the 1840s would become a central part of collective memory, with all the difficulties this ensues, and a significant component of American politics, he said. President Higgins speaking at the National Famine Commemoration, He paid tribute to the members of the crew of the William Butler Yeats who were present at the ceremony, that practical solidarity has been displayed, with unwavering courage and devotion to duty, by the officers and sailors of the William Butler Yeats. In the course of their humanitarian mission to the Mediterranean, he said, "As President of Ireland, may I commend and salute you for your service." President Higgins added that given the catastrophic dimension of Ireland's history, we must deliver not only charity but justice. He said maintaining the commitments of the Sustainable Development Goals and the Paris Climate Accord cannot be met with such an indifference as would mean simply abandoning and jettisoning millions of our fellow human beings. Tonaced at Simon Coveney hosts National Higgins pic.twitter.com/Gaposgeek, Irish Foreign Ministry, at Defatero, May 12, 2018. Tonaced Simon Coveney said that it was a significant ceremony commemorating an event which had such a shaping influence on this country. Don't forget that during that famine period 2 million people emigrated, he said, another million people died. It changed our population structures. It changed the way in which people lived. Even today, Ireland is the only European country that has a population that has less today than back in 1850. The famine is an extraordinary tragedy in Irish history. Don't forget that UCC was established and built during the period of the famine. It showed a difference in the time between those who had privilege in Ireland and those who didn't. To mark the commemoration, UCC staff recreated and bought a mud cabin, a replica of a fourth-class dwelling reflecting the horrendous conditions in which our forebears lived, suffered and died. Asa Donovan, who supervised the building of the hut, said that the conditions for inhabitants were very sparse. 40% of the population were living in Class 4 housing in the 1841 census before the famine. He said, "This is an example of a Class 4 house. The conditions inside could only be described as very basic. The potato failing caused economic and social disaster in the country." Among the members of the public at the event were siblings John and Mary O'Callaghan from Cork City. Mary said she was prompted to go to the ceremony by John, who attends the Cope Foundation in Togar in the city. The foundation assists individuals with intellectual disabilities. John has had a lifelong love for history, and having heard about the event on RTE's Nationwide, he was intent on being in the crowd. John, 62, said he likes going way back, and is fond of attending old churches and graveyards. Mary said her brother possesses an amazing interest in all things historical. Meanwhile, UCC is launching a famine online project which was born out of the Atlas of the Great Irish Famine, which was published in 2012. The project sets out to publish online the 1841 and 1851 famine database. Today's event featured music by the Vanbrugh, Niall Bailey, Karen Casey, Massed Choir, Band of the Southern Command, and readings by Lord Mayor CLLR Tony Fitzgerald, County Mayor CLLR Declan Hurley, and UCC President Patrick O'Shea. The choir included representatives of Cork Penny Dinners, the High Hopes Choir, Crosshaven Community Choir, and UCC Choral Society.